shit.
You wanna start?
It's gonna fall.
It's fine. I'll catch.
No, I have this. Well, hello, officer.
You're gonna start an intro or
whatever. I'm Amanda, as you know. This is my entire forensics class I'm speaking to. This is Angie Benitez. Angie Queen Benitez.
Hi.
And I will be informing her on the Cleveland torso murders, a horrible, gruesome act performed in 1934 to 1938. So awful. It's really awful. Like what happened. Like it's the details. Some of the details are incredibly gruesome. So if you're sensitive to that stuff, we probably won't show any gross pictures. So woohoo! I'm gonna roll my window. Hubert is actually gonna be our man behind the camera. I.e., we don't have enough room, so he's gonna be the man behind the camera. The noises that you are hearing are, we're sitting right next to a road. There's literally cars over there. The clanging is a flag against a flagpole, and there might be people talking and stuff like that. So feel free to interject with anything.
I'm ready.
So do you want me to start with the background? Go for it. Okay. The Cleveland torso murders, aka the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, occurred during... Enough. Butcher? Yeah, he cut up...
Was it just one person that got dead?
Well, they don't even know who it was. Oh, wait. Oh, you mean the victims? No, there was 13. Occurred during 1934 to 1938. This 4-year reign of terror claimed 13 victims in total, 6 women and 7 men. Of the 13, only 3 were identified. Most victims were vagrants or sex workers. The name reflects how the bodies were found. None of the bodies were found fully intact. They were decapitated and some heads were never found. We actually have 2 suspects. So, at the end... Actually, it wasn't the Zodiac Killer, but actually, they think that this person, whoever did these, was tied to the Black Dahlia. Do you know who the Black Dahlia is?
I don't know who the Black Dahlia is. She's the one that died. She was, found. And she's pretty.
I forget what her real name was. I think it was, Emily Short or something.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the Black Dahlia was found completely drained of blood, and there was she was carved here in an ever-haunting smile, it was forever on her face. She was drained so much of blood, she was so pale that people thought she was a mannequin because she was found in someone's front lawn. Character from American Horror Story was inspired by the Queen Black Dahlia. Really? I haven't seen
I think
this
it's in
season.
the first episode. No, first season.
Hotel? Jane Doe, number 1, was found September 5th, 1934. An unidentified woman who was given the name Jane Doe by the police to fill out her death certificate was found. They do this very often if they don't know the victim's name. She was in her 30s. All that was found was a partial torso, her thighs, an arm, a hand, but her head was missing. Her skin was leathery and red due to a chemical preservative. She was found in Lake Erie. Good old Lake Erie. Now, the second victim, Andrew Andrazi, was found... That car was driving super slow, and I was like, what, you want to come hear about murders? He was found September 23rd, 1935, so basically a year later.
Why did he spread out? Was it a man?
Well, the 2 suspects are men, so... A 28-year-old hospital orderly found at the base of Jackass Hill.
Okay, first of all, why are you at Jackass Hill in the beginning? who gave you, a good idea to go to Jackass Hill as if you're not gonna,
Who named it Jackass Hill? First of all. He was a regular around the Roaring Third. The Roaring Third was a place where... Well, Kingsbury Run was not a very, safe place. It was very bleak and very dangerous. The name is Kingsbury, so... Yeah. I don't know what it has to do with it, but yeah, sure.
It sounds a little spooky.
Yeah, it sounds spooky.
I live in Kingsbury County.
Kingsbury County. He was a regular on the Roaring Third, which was a place with bars, gambling dens, and brothels. That's where...
I'm listening.
That's where the killer picked his victims from there. He was found drained of blood and his clothes were missing.
What does that even mean, drained of blood?
He was completely, like, no blood in his body. Well, there's some, but, like, a lot of it was gone.
Was it a vampire who killed him? Like, I'm not...
No, like, this person obviously had, like, medical experience enough to drain the blood. So.
Did he, like, bleed out?
He was emasculated. Do you know what that means?
No.
The killer took his junk. He took his head and his buddy. He had rope burns around his wrist, and like I said, he was also decapitated. John Doe.
Okay, just first of all, if I would have found like a whole, just like you're telling me basically all they found was just a stomach and like one leg, right?
No, this one just didn't have
A wing-a-ling.
Oh.
I wouldn't even think that's a body. I think that'd just be like a chicken leg.
So John Doe, number 1. This was our second male victim it's our first who was unidentified. Found the same day as Andrew, or Edward, not Andrew. Found the same day as Edward. Found nearby. They didn't exactly say where. He was an unidentified 40-year-old male, decapitated and emasculated, the same as
What is this
Edward.
Why does this guy like dinging so much?
I don't know. The same chemical preservative, actually, as from the first killing.
Why are they preserving them with chemicals? What's the point? To make their skin
Actually,
better?
I'll bring up that point when we get into our second suspect. Yeah. Florence Polillo. It's a woman. Polillo?
Hello.
January 22nd, 1936. All right,
Hold on.
Hello. Found wrapped in newspaper in baskets.
That's a whole lot of newspapers.
Well, it wasn't her whole body. It was her head in one, and then her body parts in the rest. It was like her arms.
Okay, he's neat.
Yeah. She was found near the Hart Manufacturing, not like Hart, but like Hart as in someone's last name. Hart Manufacturing building. She was a sex worker, barmaid, and waitress, and she lived in the Roaring Third.
You know, you gotta do what you gotta do.
John Doe, number 2, otherwise known as the Tattooed Man, because he apparently had like distinguished tattoos.
How
Found.
is he? If he has distinct tattoos, why didn't anybody know who they were?
Well, because they didn't know exactly who the guy was, because again, they're all vagrants, they're all hobos. So.
What did these hobos do to deserve death?
Well,
They're already struggling. I don't get it.
an unidentified male head was found wrapped in pants.
He was running out of products. He was like picking stuff up that he didn't know. He was like, what do I rub this up with?
Wait, can you be eating that with your teeth? He was found next to the next day in front of the rest of the body was found the next day in front of the Nickel Plate Railroad police building.
Okay.
So he was found in front of the police building.
Did the police find him?
Yeah,
Other than
they
police
found the
officer
body.
just walked in. He was like, I'm not clocked in yet, and then just walked back in and just forgot about it.
John Doe, number 3. I held up 2 fingers. It's number 3. July 22nd, 1936. An
I saw it 3 times.
unidentified 40-year-old male found in the woods near Clinton Road. He had been dead for over 2 months. There was blood on the ground suggesting that he was killed on site and not dumped there like the others. So it was either like, oh, someone's coming, I need to do this fast, or he was like, I want that one, and went out there and not dumped
why
there.
was he in the woods?
I think I should get into the people who actually worked on the case to give you a little bit more insight.
Okay.
So, Peter Merlo, or Merlo, and Martin Zawiski, they interviewed over 1,500 people on their own. Murillo even went undercover in the hobo jungle. Murillo also believed that the person that committed the torso murders, also committed the murders in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. But Elliot Ness, do you know who that is?
He's like a director or something.
Yeah, he's known as the G-Man. He was involved with all the departments because he was the safety director.
Oh, okay.
Him and his team actually busted Al Capone's breweries and a bunch of other stuff. Him and his team raided the camp, and then he ordered for the camp to be burned, like the hobo jungle, to be burned. He then charged the residents with homelessness, which they had to plead guilty.
Why?
He was heavily scrutinized for that. Validate this. He raided the camp to limit the pool of victims, he said, and to also he wanted their fingerprints. Now, John Doe number 4, he was found on September 10th, 1936. An unidentified man found near the train tracks, decapitated with a confident stroke in one stroke, suggesting that the killer is educated.
Getting, like, experience.
Yeah, it suggested that the killer was like educated in human anatomy. February 23rd, 1937, parts of an identified woman in her 20s found on the shore east of Brothel. And something. Now, here's another victim. They actually identified her as Rose Wallace. Found June 5th, 1937. Found under the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge. The remains found was a skull and a bag of bones. That's all that was found.
See, okay, I understand killing someone. But, like, just, like, the whole entire thing of, like, okay, let's decapitate them. Let's take out each single bone out of their body and just throw them in a river. Like, that's just so much more
No,
work.
I think she was killed before and she decomposed.
Why is he called the torso killer?
Because the way the bodies were found, they were usually cut up by the torso.
See, that's what I said. All he's doing is just...
John Doe number 5, found July 6th, 1937. How good is it that he died after July 4th?
I mean, he at least, like,
Got to celebrate
his patriotism, you know?
patriotism.
That's what I said.
You have an eyelash.
Thanks, Mom.
It's been about.
Were they all found, like, around the same place?
Like, at this point, the area where they're dumped is starting to get closer and closer and closer together. John Doe number 5, found July 6, 1937. An identified man, mid to late 30s, found in the Chahoga, I believe that's how you say it, river. His heart was ripped out. All of his abdominal organs were gutted. They were taken.
Torso murderer was angry today.
Yeah, he
Wasn't in the mood.
Maybe like he met some girl at like a bar in the Roaring Third. I was like, hey, can I take you home? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, I'm just gonna rip this man's heart out because that's what that girl
did to me. He
So-
wanted to show his mood through a river.
No, like the cops got there and went. Jane Doe number 3, found April/May. I couldn't find an exact date. 1938. Parts of an unidentified woman was found in the Chahoga. Parts of an unidentified woman was found in the Chahoga River. She was the first time a victim had drugs in their system. Police wondered if they were recreational or to keep her from moving. So it could just be her eyes that moved.
Oh, that's insane. He's getting smart. Like, he's getting...
Oh, he's been smart, but like
He's
getting he gets bold in this last
he's
one.
getting bold.
No, you'll see he
He's
gets
growing so
super
confident.
bold. Jane Doe number 4 and John Doe number 6, found August 16th, 1938. This is the last murder. Found within view of Elliot Ness's window. John Doe's number 6 head was found in the trash can. Literally, Elliot probably went to work that day and was like, oh god. Sat down at his desk and went, I gotta find this guy. Looked out the window and went. People were getting tough on him, like, why haven't you found this guy, and blah blah blah. Suspect number 1. No one believes this guy did it, but the cops did at the time. Frank Dolezal, a 52-year-old Slavic migrant. Yeah. He was linked to a note received by the police. It had like an X on it and stuff like that. They linked it, I don't know how. He was arrested for victim 4's murder. That was Florence Polillo. He actually got 6 broken ribs while in custody that people said he didn't have before he went into custody.
Was there like a reason why they like suspected him, or was he just like walking one day and this police was like, I'm tired of being dead?
He was linked to the murder, and he actually lived with Florence. He knew Rose and Edward, and he also lived with Florence. So they were like, oh, it must be him, because he knew people at the camp. He later then committed suicide but there was only a 2-inch gap, leaving many to believe it wasn't suicide. The height of the hook that he committed suicide from? Motorcycle man. The height of the hook that he was hanging from was 5'7", but Frank was 5'8".
Okay, well that's obviously... Actually,
People are like, he just lifted his legs up, but survival instincts would kick in, making you put your legs on the floor. So how was he 5'8", but hanging from a 5'7" pole? Murillo, the guy who was working on the case before, actually went to his grave later and had them put a plaque saying, "Rest now," clearing all doubts of him being the murderer. They completely ruled him out. He went with the family of Frank and put a plaque that said "Rest now," completely cutting him out of the suspect list. Dr. Francis E. Sweeney.
you can already tell it's him because he's a doctor, and like all the other murderers, not like a dumb murderer will not kill someone with one slow move, but this doctors
Huge ass butterfly.
surgeons. What?
Huge ass butterfly.
I'll pick it up.
Pick it up. Andrew, we have to get into the suspect. Hold on.
Okay. We were at Dr. Francis E. Sweeney.
Dr. Francis E. Sweeney. A nightmare. A doctor who was part of the medical unit in World War I. He conducted...
It's like that one dude from Asylum and American Horror Story. The doctor, he was like...
Second time we've connected that.
Okay, well, listen.
He conducted amputations and patches in the field. He was personally interviewed by Ness. He also failed 2 polygraph tests.
Are those lie detector tests? Okay.
Sweeney checked himself into a mental institution. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. After he checked himself in, the killing stopped. But going back in May 1938, Ness took Sweeney to the old Cleveland Hotel. Ness kept him there for 10 to 14 days. It took 3 days for him to sober up. 3 months after his release from Ness's custody, the last 2 victims were placed in front of Ness's window. Like, you took me into custody, now I'm gonna mock you because you've made a fool of me. Kind of like that. Ness received taunting note cards from someone possibly pretending to be Sweeney, but because Sweeney was a secret suspect, it was probably him. In 1938, a vagrant named Emile Fornick told police that in 1934, a doctor tried to drug him. He remembered the office somewhere around East 50th and East 55th and Broadway. Police couldn't find a medical office, but Sweeney practiced medicine out of a modest-looking building at the corner of Broadway and Pershing, which is right in the middle of those 2 streets. Sweeney had an agreement with an undertaker, those who work at funeral homes and stuff like that with dead bodies, to practice surgery on dead bodies. This would give him the means of disposing of blood. The funeral home was actually right next to his office. What makes him not a suspect for Peter was he was too overweight to make the journey between Newcastle and Kings Bench. Yeah, and that's about it. We still don't know who he is today. Fun fact. The whole thing with decapitation, that you're still alive afterwards.
Yeah. You got alive for 10 seconds.
Yeah, don't feel like it. What if there's a head in there? What if there's a head in the trash can? No, because there's this person who had people blink as long as they could after being decapitated. So
what kind of experiment?
Well, if you're an asshole,
that?
If you're a terrible person all throughout your life, and then you do this one solid on the way out, that'd be pretty cool. And you're just blinking as long as you can. And then, the one that sparked it was someone who was a British royal, was beheaded.
I mean,
a British royal was beheaded, and afterwards, he kept blinking, and the guy called his name, and he saw, recognition in his eyes.
I want to go home.
Hubert, what'd you think of it?
My mood? His voice, face, this way, that's just my mood towards these murders. Yikes!
So, did you enjoy coming up here to Washington Rock?
I mean, I joined eating that apple and the banana, but like I kind of don't like hearing about like people's dinglings getting cut off. First of all, what do you do with that? He like cooks it.
He might have ate it.
He puts it in a hot dog bun. I'm glad I learned about these Cleveland torso murders.
Who do you think it was?
What if it was Pilates?
It's Elliot Ness.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if it's Elliot Ness because he can't like find the murderer at all, and he's like literally living his life. That'd be kind of weird though, because like they were found in his like trash can. So like, what if one night like he got super wasted and he was like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna kill these people, and like he gets tired and he just doesn't know what to do with the body, so they just put him in the trash can. Why didn't they suspect him after that?
Why would he do that to his own reputation when he had one squeaky clean?
Maybe he was just bored.
Why would it be
He
Elliot
was like
Ness?
tired of being Elliot Ness and he wanted to be like Cleveland or something.
So, I think it was Sweeney.
I think it was Ness.
Sadly, I like feel especially like upset about this case because they were never identified.
Yeah, what also makes me upset is that like they're hobos, so nobody was there to like feel sad that they were dead.
Yeah, like maybe
so, like, they died.
Maybe
and, like,
their vagrant friends who were like in the
Yeah.
camp as well were like, oh, Jimmy's gone missing. Jimmy's been missing for like 3 years, and so has Jane.
That's sad. You just messed this whole thing up for me. I was having a nice time and now I'm sad.
Yeah, I just feel bad for like the 3 that were identified. Like hope peace was like brought to their family. Debate amongst yourselves. Miss A, what do you think? Jimmy. No, I'm not putting that in.
Jimmy, what do you think? Okay. I'm not in forensics, but like I'm glad that I learned about these
You
murders.
should join it next year. It's really fun. It's a really good class. All right.